So Steve Bannon is about to become the target of a grand jury investigation. And Donald Trump is about to become a subject of the very same grand jury investigation. Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So the House Select Committee voted to hold Steve Bannon in criminal contempt of Congress. Here's the reporting about that today. This from the Washington Post. Headline: House January 6 Committee votes to hold Bannon in contempt. And the article begins, lawmakers on the House Select Committee investigating the January 6 attack on the Capitol unanimously voted in support of holding Stephen K. Bannon in contempt on Tuesday. The 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans tasked with investigating the insurrection all supported the resolution, recommending that the House find the former advisor to Donald Trump in criminal contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena issued by the committee. So, what are the next steps for Congress and for Steve Bannon? So, the criminal contempt issue will now go to the full House floor for a vote. The full House will inevitably vote, as did the committee, to hold Steve Bannon in criminal contempt and refer the matter for prosecution. The matter gets referred to the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, a gentleman named Channing Phillips. And the law says once that criminal referral is made, the U.S. Attorney shall, not may, not might, shall present the matter to the grand jury for its action. So this will now move us into the wonderful world of grand jury investigations. And let's talk about what the criminal contempt investigation of Steve Bannon might look like. First of all, it's important to define some terms. There are 3 important terms that will frame the discussion: witness, subject, and target. Now, witness is just what it sounds like. Somebody who's uninvolved, somebody who has done nothing wrong, somebody who has committed no crime and therefore can testify freely before the grand jury because he or she has no liability, no criminal culpability for anything. But these other 2 terms, subject and target, are terms of art. So let's first look at the Department of Justice guidelines. We call it the US Attoneys Manual, to see how these terms, how these players are defined. First of all, target. Here's how the US Attorneys Manual defines target. A target is a person as to whom the prosecutor or the grand jury has substantial evidence linking him or her to the commission of a crime and who, in the judgment of the prosecutor, is the putative defendant, is the likely defendant. So the target of the investigation, as it sounds, is the person the grand jury is investigating with a view toward indicting. That would be Steve Bannon. What's a subject? So a subject is defined by the U.S. Attorney's Manual as follows. A subject of an investigation is a person whose conduct is within the scope of the grand jury's investigation. That's not all that helpful. So let's talk about what a subject is and why Donald Trump is a subject, like it or not, in the grand jury investigation into Steve Bannon's criminal contempt of Congress. A subject is somebody who sits uncomfortably, sort of between a witness and a target, such that the subject may have engaged in criminal conduct. And that criminal conduct is within the scope of the grand jury's investigation, even if the subject is not the target of the grand jury investigation. Let me give you a hypothetical to try to illustrate what a witness looks like, what a target looks like, and then what this middle ground, a subject, looks like. Let's just take a run-of-the-mill drug deal that is being conducted in an alley in our backyard here in Washington, D.C. And you have three people in the alley. You have the drug seller, you have the drug buyer, and you have an innocent witness, a bystander. Has nothing to do with nothing. So the drug dealer, the seller, the distributor, gives the drugs to the buyer pays the drug dealer, and at that point a gunman comes barreling into the alley and opens fire on the drug buyer, takes the money from the drug buyer, points the gun at the drug dealer, the drug seller, and robs the drug dealer of the money, and then flees. So what do we have? We have a witness, the innocent bystander, the uninvolved person in the alley who's done nothing wrong. So that person is simply a witness in the grand jury investigation. We've got the target of the investigation. That's the gunman, the killer, the robber. But then we have the drug dealer, right? He's in this uncomfortable middle ground. He's not an innocent witness or bystander. Why? Because he was engaged in drug dealing. He was committing a crime at the time of the homicide, but he's not the target of the grand jury investigation because the grand jury is investigating the murder. But when you're a subject, you've done something wrong, you've committed a crime, and that crime is within the scope of the grand jury's investigation. The grand jury could not only indict the gunman, the killer, but could indict the drug distributor for committing a felony distribution of narcotics, right? So let's now apply that to Steve Bannon and Donald Trump. When we investigate crime in the grand jury, friends, it will come as no surprise. We investigate the crime. In this case, it will be contempt of Congress. We investigate the criminal or the target of the investigation, Steve Bannon. We also investigate the motive. Why would Steve Bannon refuse to appear before Congress? Why would he suffer a criminal contempt charge in his determination not to testify? Well, in part, he doesn't want to testify because he doesn't want to incriminate Donald Trump. What motive might he have for not wanting to incriminate Donald Trump? Donald Trump pardoned him and kept him out of federal prison, and now in return, Steve Bannon has got to do him a solid. And Donald Trump didn't pardon Steve Bannon for just any old crime. Remember, Steve Bannon created a bogus foundation, the We Build the Wall Foundation. He stole money from Donald Trump's base. He was indicted by the Department of Justice, and then Donald Trump swooped in and pardoned him. Presumably, Bannon got to keep the money. And there's been no reporting on whether Donald Trump got a cut of that money for delivering his corrupt pardon. Maybe we'll learn about that in the future. That's powerful motive evidence as to why Steve Bannon would refuse to testify and incriminate Donald Trump. That evidence has to be presented in the grand jury as part of its investigation of Steve Bannon's criminal contempt referral. So what does that make Donald Trump? Well, it makes him a subject of the investigation because his conduct will absolutely be relevant to and within the scope of the grand jury's investigation. And friends, you know, this is just a variation on Donald Trump's conspiratorial theme, right? That is, you know, delivering a corrupt pardon to Steve Bannon. He did the same thing to Roger Stone. Roger Stone lied to Congress. Judge Amy Berman Jackson found at Stone's trial that he lied to Congress to cover up for Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump rewarded him with a pardon. That's a conspiracy. That's not a lawfully delivered presidential pardon. And if anybody at the Department of Justice would ever step up and challenge that in court, I predict judges would strike it down because it's a perversion of the pardon power. It's an illegal use. It's a corrupt use of the pardon power. But this likely conspiracy with Bannon is just more of the same. He did it with Stone. He's done it with Bannon. But the good news is, with this criminal referral of Steve Bannon, Congress is virtually spoon-feeding the Department of Justice the opportunity to open a criminal investigation, to open a grand jury investigation into Donald Trump, because he will be a subject of the Bannon criminal contempt grand jury investigation. And of necessity, Donald Trump and his conduct, his behavior, his crimes will have to be investigated, as they are indicting Steve Bannon for contempt of Congress. So the Department of Justice, you're being spoon-fed by Congress the opportunity to criminally investigate Donald Trump in the grand jury. Please don't spit it out. Please don't spit out what you're being spoon-fed by Congress. Investigate the crimes Donald Trump committed, the crimes we've all seen him commit, the crimes that have victimized the American people over and over and over again. Because if you don't investigate and indict and prosecute Donald Trump for the crimes we've all seen him commit, then it feels political. It feels like your refusal to investigate and hold accountable Donald Trump for the crimes he absolutely committed. It feels political, and that's not where this Department of Justice can be. We were there for the past 4 years with a politicized Department of Justice doing Donald Trump's nefarious bidding, doing favors for his criminal associates, and punishing his perceived enemies. We can't be there again. We can't. So, Department of Justice, please don't spit out what you are being spoon-fed by Congress. Open an investigation into Donald Trump's criminal activities, because justice matters. It matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.